Hello and welcome to Your New Jersey. I'm Lisa Marie Falbo. On today's show, we'll learn all about Monarch Housing Associates and how they're helping curb homelessness in the Garden State. We'll also meet Alora Lovelight and find out how she's helping local students build confidence through music. But first, the New Jersey Society of Professional Journalists is part of a national organization that has been improving and protecting journalism since 1909. Here to tell us more about their initiatives is the NJSPJ president, Ken Burns. Welcome, Ken.
Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you. I'm very excited about this conversation. I know that you are very active in the chapter. Explain to our audience what you do and how you help New Jersey's journalists.
Well, let's start with the last question first. We are here to help journalists in the Garden State, whether they work for maybe a New York or a Philadelphia station, or happen to work for a Philadelphia station, or whether they're one of the many outlets within the Garden State. And we stand up for journalism, whether it's somebody infringing on First Amendment rights or limiting access to public access. And keep in mind, as journalists, we are representatives of the public, and we have the same right to public access as someone who wouldn't be a journalist. And we also do what we can to boost the industry as well.
How do you go about doing so?
Well, we have our award ceremony. It's in the planning stages for this year. We kind of got started late, but it's coming. A note to our colleagues, by the way. We hold discussions about how journalism is relevant on a regular basis. We have a series of discussions involving law enforcement and the public. And we also help journalists get better at their jobs, understanding public records requests and other things of that sort.
What else are you doing within the community to maybe tell regular folks, journalists, we're here to deliver news. Don't view us as the enemy. We're just here to tell it as it is.
It's a constant campaign. I mean, part of it is what we do, and part of it is journalists ourselves. We bring like that one. In fact, there was a conversation I happened to moderate in Burlington County last year, called "The Police, the Press, and the Public," where we bring all sides together: the public, the media, or the press in this instance, and law enforcement to talk about issues of public concern. Uh, the Burlington County event was centered around the now infamous viral video of somebody in the Mount Laurel community that decided to racially attack his neighbors. And because of journalism, that there was a light upon that, and it also brought other cases, other cases involving this guy to the public eye, and then it also shined the spotlight on what was the Mount Laurel police doing. It shined the light on the activists that were fighting this evil known as racism. That's just one example of what we do as an organization uh, to boost journalism. In other words, we try to humanize journalists. We're not. I mean, we're not. We're definitely not on an ivory tower. Although that can easily be said. I've said it myself, but the more work that we do to show that we're your neighbors, we're a part of your community, we go shopping in the same grocery stores as you do, uh, that kind of fights that narrative that many people use to color us as elitists. The truth is, the majority of us, we're not elitists. We're everyday people.
And some people, I think, in the public too, think, the journalists and the big media are in cahoots, right? Like to cover up the truth. Why do you think that is?
Well, again, this goes back to that narrative of journalists being in the ivory tower, and there has been examinations of that. On the media, which is produced by WNYC, took a look at that, and if you look at the industry, a lot of journalists go to schools like Northwestern or USC, these really good journalism schools that are seen as elite. Overall, there are some things that you miss when you have journalists that go to the top schools. Like, I'll use my story for example. I didn't finish my undergrad until 6, 7 years ago, but I was still working to get that experience. So there's you have two types of journalists. You have the journalists who went to the elite schools, and then you have the journalists like me who basically clawed their way through school or clawed their way even without a degree. You have some very good journalists that don't have degrees at all, but because of how and it's not limited to journalism, so don't take it as me picking on my own industry. But if you look at any industry like business, people are going to gravitate towards uh, their like the people with the same educational pedigree more often than not. I'm not even going to put a number on it, but that's part of the issue, and that's something certainly something I'm passionate about, bringing up people who have the talent, maybe not necessarily the school behind them. They might have went to a school that doesn't have a journalism program at all. They just happen to do the work towards journalism so they could work in a market like New York or Philadelphia or any major market.
Clearly, you are very passionate about this, for standing up for journalism and showing the regular folks, why it is such an amazing industry. How did you become so involved in the NJSPJ?
Well, I was active in the Maryland chapter. In fact, I was a vice president in the Maryland Pro chapter uh, when I was working in Baltimore at the NPR station there. And then when I moved to New Jersey 3 years ago, it was pretty much no brainer for me. Reach out to the New Jersey chapter, see how I could get involved. And especially being in a new to a state, I need to get to know people in the state and particularly get my career going, or I should say career going again. I was on the beach, that they said at the time when I moved here.
How special is it for you to become president of this prestigious organization?
It's huge. It's nothing that I thought about, to be quite honest, but the opportunity came, and after 20 something years in this business, um, sometimes you have to step out there and see what you could do. And this was an opportunity to for me to do more, to stand up for journalism, and then embrace my new home state. So this was super duper special.
What are your plans for your presidency?
Well, continue the growth. My predecessor, Bob Shapiro, did a great job growing the chapter. And I hope to build upon that and to help as many journalists as we can. One way is to help with credentials. We issue credentials to people, whether they are full members of the chapter or whether they're just associate members. That's another long story that I will try not to get into, but we help journalists out like that way. We back them up like the one news photographer on the Jersey Shore. We're going to have more programs, and we're going to do more to reach out to communities of color, especially journalists of color. I intend on reaching out to my counterparts with the New York ABJ and the Philly Associates of Black Journalists as well, to see how we can help journalists of color in the Garden State.
Well, you helped in securing our credentials, and we thank you for that.
Surely.
It makes our lives a lot easier, for sure. Well, where can people find out more about you and NJSPJ?
I would send everybody to our website, njspj.org. We update our organization on our website. You can follow me on Twitter if you want to keep up with at least what's going on in South Jersey. My handle on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook is PKB News. PKB are my initials, just add news at the end. And I keep a fairly active presence.
I will give you a follow as soon as this interview wraps.
Awesome.
Thanks, Ken.
Thank you.
The vision of Monarch Housing Associates is that every person will have quality, affordable, permanent housing that fosters freedom independence, and community integration. Joining us now to tell us more about this Cranford nonprofit is its CEO, Thaisa Kelly. Welcome, Thaisa, to the show.
Hi, nice to be here with you. Thank you for having me.
You have a very worthy vision. Tell us how Monarch is ensuring access to affordable rental housing. Talk to us about your housing development team.
Sure. So we at Monarch, we're a 30-year-old nonprofit organization, and we work with communities across the state to ensure that there's access to housing. There's a couple of ways that we do that work. First, we work with nonprofit and for-profit developers to create affordable and supportive housing, really focusing on trying to create housing units with support services integrated to help those who might need additional services to remain independent and stable within the community in permanent housing. And the second piece of work that we do is related to helping communities develop and implement plans to end homelessness. That includes looking at their homeless systems, identifying best practices and new programs, reviewing data, and making sure that the services that are available in their community are all focused towards helping people experiencing homelessness get connected to permanent, stable housing. And then the final piece of work that we do is around advocacy, because we know in order to do all of this, we have to have the resources available to make those programs operate and function well. So we do advocacy around ensuring that we have resources to implement those best practices related to creating housing opportunities and ending homelessness.
You have a lot of initiatives that you're overseeing. How do you do it?
A lot of long days and nights. We have a really dedicated staff of about 10 staff members, and we're growing now, and really kind of split into two teams. One team focused on the housing development work and another team focused on the homeless planning work with our communities. So we've got really great dedicated staff that are working tirelessly to support our partners in their efforts to create homeless initiatives that are effective and also to create housing opportunities with our development partners.
Talk about some of your recent projects.
Sure. So we are currently working on a couple of exciting development programs. We were initially founded through the Mental Health Association of New Jersey, where there was a need to identify supportive housing for people who were at that time in institutions, but leaving institutions and did not have a specific place to go where they could get the service support that they need and have a housing opportunity that could accommodate them. So we initially started with partnering with mental health service providers, helping them to develop their housing arms within their agencies so that they could provide permanent supportive housing within the community. We continue to do those types of activities, although for a variety of different populations. So a couple of exciting projects that we've been working on recently are, one, working with hospital partners that are interested in providing housing for people who are high frequency users of the medical care services, typically emergency room services, really focused on supporting those who are experiencing homelessness and high frequency users of medical care and creating housing. So we've got some exciting projects with St. Joe's Hospital and New Jersey Community Development Corporation, NJCDC, where they're creating I believe it's about 70 units of permanent supportive housing in Passaic County in the city of Paterson for high frequency users as well as for the community. We're working with another group in Newark, the RAIN Foundation, to create supportive housing for LGBTQ identifying youth who have experienced homelessness, to create a supportive environment for them to access housing, long-term housing. And we've also been recently working with a number of different American Legions across the state to create supportive housing for homeless veterans. So those are a couple of the really exciting housing projects that we've been working on. And then on the homeless planning side, it's kind of a never-ending process of making sure that we are bringing innovative strategies to communities to help address homelessness.
How do you work with the communities? I know that you work with 18 of the 21 counties here in New Jersey. So tell us how that all happens.
Sure. So we do a number of things with the communities. One, we provide support to the communities in completing grant applications for funding for programs that we know will be effective in helping to end homelessness. We provide support in doing data analysis, and as part of our role in doing the homeless planning work, we coordinate the annual point in time count for the state of New Jersey, where we coordinate a one-day count of people experiencing homelessness, both in shelters and unsheltered homelessness, to get a sense of what the need is in the community, what are the characteristics of the population experiencing homelessness, so we can have a better sense of how to serve them moving forward. We also support communities in bringing key partners to the table and designing programs that we know will be effective. So for example, we've worked with a number of communities on creating Housing First initiatives that are focused on helping people who are experiencing homelessness go directly into housing, and then having the services wrapped around them to support them so they can stabilize in housing, as opposed to requiring a lot of having a lot of requirements for them to access the housing in the first place. So kind of a flip on the traditional way that services have been provided. We are also currently, one of the big things that we're focusing on in the homeless planning work is really connecting with and partnering with people who have directly been impacted by homelessness, to have them be part of the planning process and help guide the direction that we are recommending that the systems go in, so that we can ensure that the services are really meeting the needs of those who are specifically impacted by homelessness.
You know, it's one thing to put them up in housing, but it's another to provide them with the support to maybe even get on their feet in their own, you know, house one day. So that's really cool that you marry all of that together.
Yes, and we know that the way it's possible to end homelessness, we have to put the resources towards getting people connected to permanent housing. But in order for people to really thrive and have a life that they enjoy, we want to make sure that there are the services there connected to that housing, so that people can grow in the ways that are comfortable for them, and that they can continue to contribute to society in successful ways. So we're really focused on making sure that it's not just about the housing, but it's the housing and the services combined. And we really think that the winning formula is making sure that we're including people who have specifically been impacted by homelessness into the conversation about what types of services we should be creating, what ways that we should be implementing programs so that we can make them more accessible.
Who are some of the state's key decision makers that have helped Monarch along its mission?
Well, there are a lot. As I mentioned, we are a 30-year-old organization, so there have been a lot of key partners along the way that have really helped us to grow to the space where we are today. I think first is Mental Health Association was the nonprofit agency that had the vision of actually providing supports to other nonprofits so that they could grow their supportive housing components. Outside of Mental Health Association, we have partnered very significantly with a couple of other advocacy and support organizations, such as the Housing Community Development Network, Supportive Housing Association, Anti-Poverty Network, which is now part of Citizen Action. So those are a couple of some of our nonprofit partners that we've worked with over the years. In terms of our state partners, we've really had support from the Department of Community Affairs, New Jersey Department of Community Affairs, and the New Jersey Housing and Mortgage Finance Agency, which are two big agencies that provide funding for not only the housing development, but also do work around and provide funding for homeless services within the community. But those are just a few. So there are a lot more partners. And I know more recently we've been working very closely with Robert Wood Johnson Foundation on a couple of initiatives just to ensure that we are integrating equity into the work that we do in every aspect of the work that we do.
How did you become involved, though? You've been CEO, you said, for 11 years, but obviously passion fuels all of those late hours that you have to put in.
So I think I've always had a passion for issues around homelessness. I initially, upon leaving college, decided I would try to go into the field and realized that while the direct care and direct kind of client-facing services are truly important, it was not my forte. So it was a nice opportunity to kind of step a little bit behind the scenes and work in kind of developing the systems and ensuring that the funding is available in the community. I first started with Monarch actually in 2006. And I started, when I first joined the organization, I was doing work on housing development. And then after a year, I moved over to doing the work on homeless planning. I actually took over the role of CEO in 2019 when the founding CEO of the agency, Richard Brown, retired. So I've been with Monarch for quite a number of years and have had the pleasure of kind of seeing the different parts of the agency before coming into this role.
You have the Housing is a Human Right Conference coming up in October. Tell us all about it.
Sure. So we are having the conference on October 6th. It is at the Hyatt in Princeton. And we are really excited. We've got partners from across the country coming in. We've got folks from Houston, from Indianapolis, from Milwaukee, Philadelphia, and those are some of the communities that have made some really significant strides in reducing the number of people experiencing homelessness in their community that have been featured at a national level. We also have our partners from the United States Interagency Council that will be there helping to share information about the federal strategic plan to end homelessness, as well as Amanda Nderi, who is the CEO of Funders Together, a collaborative of philanthropies that are dedicated to investing in system change so that at the national level and at local levels, we can really move the needle on ending homelessness. And then we'll also be featuring a lot of great work that's happening across the state of New Jersey with regards to homeless programs, as well as housing development and innovative partnerships in the development space.
Where can people find out more about Monarch Housing and how to support?
So you can find out more at our website, www.monarchhousing.org.
Thank you so much for coming on here and talking about your very worthy organization.
Thank you for having me.
Local R&B artist Alora Lovelight founded the You Matter movement, which uses music to inspire, empower, and build confidence in schools and communities. Alora joins us now. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's good to be here.
It's so hard to believe how fast summer went and that school is back in session.
Yep.
Tell us about the You Matter movement.
Yeah, the You Matter movement I started in 2018. It started because I had written a song called You Matter, and the music video, we had decided, we went and worked with different schools, just telling the kids that they matter and having them share their stories. It was very empowering. The kids all kind of like really opened up and talked about what they're going through and what they want to accomplish. And I think that the mission of the project was fulfilled, that they felt like they mattered at the end of the day. And the project was specifically for my music video. But after we put the music video out, we had schools like start calling me and my company and my team, and they were like, come to our school and do this. And, you know, people just see the value and see how the kids are affected by that. And I don't know too many programs in different schools that are really doing that. We really believe in like speaking about mental health and having the kids have a platform and a space where they can do that. So we've since gone to 5 different like elementary, high school, middle school, all different ages. And we've done different programs, different assemblies. We did a back to school program. Last year, we did an after school program in Caldwell, New Jersey. And we have, I think we're set to do 4 different programs in the fall. So it's very exciting. It's growing.
What does the program entail?
So the program is we try to cater it to the needs of the students, because that's our goal. And the whole concept is You Matter. I created that when it was Black Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter, This Life Matters, which is all beautiful, but I think that none of those things are who you are on the inside. We matter as people because we're here. And so we have done assemblies where we come for the day. We do activities with the kids. We ask them, we do most of the activities are anonymous, which I think helps the kids open up more and share a little bit more about what they're going through. And I see the kids start out anonymous, but then they want to share that it's theirs because they feel safe. They feel like there's an open space. And then there's a lot of dialogue back and forth. For example, I'll have the kids do a writing activity where they'll write something that they went through this week that was hard. And then they can say it's theirs or not. And then I'll share it with everybody. And then I ask, who else can relate to this? And then almost all of them always raise their hand. And then they want to share like, I can relate to this because of whatever. And it really connects the kids.
What has the feedback been from students and adults alike?
I get a lot of really good feedback. The kids are building the program. Like the kids I work with are like, how about this? Let's add this, you know, do a meditation. I'm like, okay, you know, like, I think that's wonderful. So really the kids I'm working with are building the program. They love it. They give great suggestions. I think that they not always tell me how much it's affected them. I get letters from parents all the time saying, my kid came home and they talked all about this day. And sometimes it's like a kid who doesn't talk to their parent all the time. And the parents are so like excited to tell me, hey, they shared this with me. And so it's really like extending beyond just the kids in our class.
What is your favorite part of the program?
Working with the kids, seeing them feel better about something they're going through. Like when I was that age, I was not a superstar. I was not a singer, like a, you know, whatever. I was kind of a wallflower. And that's kind of why I started the program. And I think that especially elementary to middle to high school, you know, these cliques start to happen, and this kid is in this group and this kid is in this group. And I just feel like it takes that away. It takes those boundaries, like those dividers, away from the kids, and it gives them all something to relate to, like, oh, the cool kids said they can relate to me, and the way they see each other, I think it changes that. And that's what I love about it.
Where can people find out more information about you and the You Matter movement?
They can look up lovelightsoundmusic.com, and there's a tab where they can send in a form that says, this is my school, this is what we're looking for, these are our ages. And then we really try to work with schools to cater the program for them and their kids. Yeah.
Thank you, Alora, for coming on the show.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for watching Your New Jersey. I'm Lisa Marie Falbo. We'll see you back here next week.